You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to talk all things training camp with the Cognac Boys and do our Friday staple, play, buy, or sell. And also, what are the Bulls doing with Josh Primo? We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. These are the Cognac Boys, hosts and creators of the Shy Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. My name is Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, fellas. Day 3 of training camp is in the books. There's been a lot of things that come out over the course of this training camp between, Jalen Smith, the play style, Billy Donovan implementing a 14-second shot clock, which I thought was a really, really cool idea. But one of the biggest things and most important things about this is building chemistry. And it seems like Josh Giddey and Zach Lavine are building some solid chemistry. Now, there's a missing piece to this puzzle of Kobe White, and I think that's an important piece to all this thing working out. But I do like that we've heard that Josh Giddey and Zach Lavine are building that chemistry. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, you got to be excited about this. I heard that Josh Giddey and Zach Lavine exchanged phone numbers as soon as he was traded to the Chicago Bulls. And I especially think this is great for Zach Lavine. I am looking, me personally, for Zach Lavine to take another step in his NBA career. And that next step is being more of a leader on the floor. I think he had a great teacher in DeMar DeRozan, even though it looked like that they didn't mesh on the court too much. But he's seen the style and the way the young players look to him for advice and mentorship. I think it's about time in Zach Lavine's career where he can take that mentor role or sensei role or that leadership role for the Chicago Bulls team, a young Chicago Bulls team.
For sure. I think that is very important. And I like to hear things like this. I know we come and we listen to some of those words that come out of this and we say, it's good, it's good. So I'm on the side of the feeling good about it, but I'm also going to come in and say, I would like to see it on the basketball court as well. But I will say that it is good that they building out this chemistry together, because this is what's going to be necessary to push the Chicago Bulls forward. We already said that it's not a finished product. We know it's not a finished product. So we trying to only see the Bulls get better. But the thing that I love about it is because Zach Lavine, his spot-up shooting is going to be key for the Chicago Bulls team. His ability to get to the basket is going to be key for the Chicago Bulls. I believe last year, just for the games that he played, he only had about 6 points at the basket. But in years prior, he was close to around 9 to 10 points inside the paint. So that's what I want to see him get back to. Get more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Be the guy that we know that he can be. Last point is that, Haize, to your point, I think that is very important that we start to hear, or at least get ready and see next week, others get involved. What is the chemistry going to look like with Kobe White? Is Patrick Williams going to benefit from Josh Giddey being on the floor? How is Nikola Vucevic going to be now that somebody can finally pass the ball to him in the post? That's the things that we got to look at. But I love everything so far.
Yeah, I think it's a sign that things are going in the right direction, that these two guys, and that may be why you see kind of a renewed faith as well, like new excitement maybe of Zach Lavine. But we'll see what the future holds for Zach Lavine and his time here with the Bulls or not. But while you're in any place, you want to be put in the right situation, in a situation to thrive with your skill set. And that's potentially what Josh Giddey does offer for the Chicago Bulls team. And, I don't like when people try to compare Josh Giddey to Alonzo Ball. I think they're very, very different players. But I think that, having Josh Giddey here instead of DeMar DeRozan, not only does it open up the floor a little bit more for players like Zach Lavine. You talked about that scoring at the rim. It's very difficult when you have already Vooch and DeMar who operate the same exact spaces to get kind of more towards that rim. Having Josh Giddey as your actual point guard and be ball dominant, like he is, and be the playmaker that he is, it opens up everything for everybody else. The thing that I'm seeing that I want to see overall in offense, yes, I want to see the Kobe White portion, but to me, because I get it. The Bulls going to try to play more up tempo, but I need to see what the half court looks like, because one thing, and you guys have been talking with me about Bulls forever, that I drill home: we don't move without the ball. If we're not moving without the ball in the half court, if we're not slashing, if we're not cutting to the rim, it don't matter, because you're not going to get up and down the court every time. You're not always going to get rebounds. You're not always going to get steals to get out in transition. That half court portion of this is really important, and that's the thing that I want to see as well from this Bulls team once the games start next week.
And that's 100% right. And we didn't see that type of body movement, bodies cutting to the basket, coming off screen since Lonzo Ball was healthy. So that's why I do agree that, and I'm going to add Kobe White into this. Kobe and Zach will definitely benefit from Giddey by getting them some extra points, like some easy points, where they won't have to work so hard and isolate and do 100 moves to get a basket. He'll be able to get them some backdoor cuts. He'll get them some surprise passes down, you know what I'm saying, down low. So, yeah, it's a good thing, man. This is a good days coming for Zach Lavine. I ain't talking like record-wise, but he can definitely make his job easier along with Kobe White.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point to have. Me and C-Dub, we had the conversation, Haize, about the pace that the Indiana Pacers ran at, being second in the league, and then running at such a fast pace that they was able to, on most nights, outscore most teams. Me personally, I don't think the Bulls, at least right now, before we see them play, can just say every night we're going to outplay some teams. But in your opinion, do you think that we should be playing at least a top 5, top 10 type of pace? In your opinion?
I don't think so. Not as long as we have players like Nikola Vucevic on this roster. I just don't think so. Like, the type of pace that the Pacers are able to play is not only because they have a point guard that can push the pace, but they have a point guard that can also shoot the ball pretty well, and he's a pretty damn good scorer. Josh Giddey just isn't that. And so I think when you look at the way that the Pacers are able to play in that pace, like, that's a big part on it. And so I don't think they need to play that fast, especially in this first season of adopting that. We still trying to figure out the on-ball, off-ball portion of it. I would like to see the Bulls be no less, though. You keep in mind, they were 28th in pace last year. If you can get 16th, 15th in pace, I think that's a large enough jump for one season to one season.
Like 100 possessions per game. Like the top number one is like 104 possessions a game. So you want them like up there, like 100 possessions per game, like that. That's like 15, 16 around that area right there.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to be in.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll see how that develops and goes for the Chicago Bulls. I think that they're on pace to actually change it. Billy Donovan's talked about changing the pace of this offense for the last 3 years, and we've been at the bottom of the league each one. But this really does feel like a different year as far as actually getting that done. And then off the bench, too, like, you got to look at it, especially if Jalen Smith isn't in that starting lineup. You got Ayo Dosunmu, who was our best player in transition last year, both passing and finishing at the rim, which he improved last year. Modest Bucilis, Jalen Smith, Julian Phillips, Dalen Town. Now, all these guys are going to get minutes, but almost everybody that you look at on that bench thrives in a faster pace offense.
Yeah, and they some young, athletic guys. Like, you could probably add Lonzo if he right with his injury. You could add him to the list for a couple minutes.
I feel about Lonzo. I'm not counting Lonzo
feel, so that's why I had to throw him in.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not a knock on Lonzo, but for somebody who's not going to play back-to-backs, is going to be on a heavy minutes restriction. The way I look at it with Lonzo is anything that you get is a benefit, but I'm not at the point where I'm willing to bet on what we're going to get Lonzo night in and night out, because we're just not going to see him every night out there. Keep in mind, Bulls play with some of the most back-to-backs this year as well. So that's a lot of games Alonzo's going to be potentially missing.
Yeah, especially in that first half of the schedule too. Before they even hit December, I think they got like 7 back-to-backs. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah,
wow.
I think that's about right. So,
wow. Well, we're gonna see early how this team runs up and down, and I definitely like that second unit, especially led by Ayo Dosunmu, who should definitely be getting more praise day by day. He matures and just does his thing with no recognition that he really should be getting. I expect him to be better this season. He ended the season at 12 points per game. I expect an uptick in that. And less minutes.
Especially when you look at him as a starter, it was a little over 16 points per game.
Yeah.
March was 16 and April was 17, and I just give him a lot of credit for what he was able to do. And I also want to see, like, to one of the earlier points that you mentioned, Haize, when you talked about Josh Giddey with his scoring ability. I'm anxious to see like how his relationship is going to work with Peter Patton, the player development coach. Because Ayo Dosunmu came into this season, and I did not expect some of them pull up threes that he was pulling.
Yeah.
Dalen Terry, his 3-point shot wasn't hitting, but the form looked a lot improved.
Yes.
We're going to see how, the step forward this season, if he can make that. But I'm interested to see like how his ability to coach up, and we see some of the things come into effect, translate, and see how we can let that affect Josh Giddey and his ability to shoot the 3-point shot, because he shot at 33% last season.
And what about the
I
Olympics?
think the difference, though, when you talk about Ayo is that Ayo stayed in Chicago last year and worked with Peter Patton that whole summer. Josh Giddey hadn't been here because of his ankle. So he may not see that leap that step up this first year because he just hasn't gotten. The guy I'm looking at, to what's your point, Bobby, is Modest Bucilis. Modest Bucilis has got up extra shots with Peter Patton every day after practice so far. That's the guy I'm looking at.
I just want to point out for Josh Giddey, he did shoot over 40% in the Olympics, even though it's a small sample size.
Shorter.
It's a small, shorter 3-point line. It's still a little distance, a small sample size. I'm sure he knows what his weakness is, and we've seen it a little bit in the Olympics. I want to give him a little bit of credit. I know the NBA is a different monster, but I'm sure he knows his weaknesses and he's working on it. And I'm sure he's going to be a little bit better from the 3-point line because the team's going to need him to step up and shoot those threes and make those threes at a high clip.
For sure.
And we'll see. But next up, we're going to play our staple on Fridays. I love doing buy and sell with these guys. We're going to get into that next. But before that, we got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is Gametime. All right, everydayers, I've been talking to you guys about Gametime for a while, and their new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And they give you, it's not just sports. I know we're a Bulls podcast, but it's not just sports. It's comedy, theater, everything that you can think of. Everything that you can think of. Go and see a play with your lady. Go and do. Stop staying in the house all the time. Stop staying in the house. Get out the house. Go do something. It doesn't matter. Get out the house. That's why she about to leave y'all, because y'all don't do nothing. But Gametime Picks gives you a panoramic view of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly the view that you're going to get of the stage, the game, of whatever it is before you even buy. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Our games, if you find a seat in the same section and seat for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's Gametime. All right, fellas. It's nice having a reoccurring segment. Buy or sell. I got the waffle now. And so let's get into it today, fellas, man. The first one, buy or sell. Buy or sell, Josh Giddey is top 4 in the league in assists this year.
Ooh. Can I put it on layaway?
Can I put it on layaway?
I'll pay you later.
Like to try to come up with a different wrinkle to the rule. So to go over it, the top 3 players last year in assists were Tyrese Halliburton with almost 11, Luka Doncic with 9.8, and Nikola Jokic with 9. They were the only players above 9 assists per game. Just to add some color to that.
I'm going to sell it. I would like to put it on layaway, but I see it's not available. We in Beverly Hills, so I'm going to sell it.
Okay. I'm definitely going to sell. Yeah, because soon as we start talking about it, I start thinking about some names, and I just see so many people that can well, not so many people, but some people that I place ahead of him before I even say that he has the opportunity. But I will say he'll be a top 10 finisher.
Okay.
How about that? But we selling the top 4 because that was the question.
Yeah, bro.
All right, fair enough. Next up, buy or sell. Zach Lavine averages over 25 points per game last year. Keep in mind, only 14 players averaged over 25 points per game last season in the NBA.
Buy. Let me get that. I'm buying that. I told you this gonna be a big year for Zach Lavine. He ain't got DeMar in the way. Shout out to DeMar. He going off. At least 25 points per game. I'm buying.
Okay.
I'm gonna push the chips in, and we're gonna try to see if we can get some type of return on it. I think Zach Lavine got a lot to prove. A lot of people trying, like, hey, even me, I got out of line too, acting like I ain't know this man was an all-star caliber player. He is that, and a lot of people did more than I did, and more than I said. So, my man's, I'm gonna buy that and go ahead and prove him wrong, big dog.
Yep.
All right. I like that. I think when you look at Zach Lavine and how this team is set up and how he could really just do his strengths this year, I think that there is a high probability that Zach Lavine can average over 25 points per game. I'm not going to get crazy and say 30 or anything like that, but I do think that depending on how the balance between him and Kobe works out, that you can see 25, 26 points per game for Zach Lavine pretty easily.
Absolutely.
You got to stay healthy too. That's another thing.
That's another thing. Absolutely.
That's a fact. Got to be healthy and ready to go. No.
All right. Another one, because this one comes directly. Patrick Williams said that he wanted to play all 82 games next year. Now, he's done it once in his career. Buy or sell Patrick Williams playing all 82 games next season for the Chicago Bulls?
I got some money to blow. Do you take cash out? I'm a bad. I'm a bad. You know why I'm a bad? And this is silly. He usually I'm gonna just go by his pattern. He either plays a lot of games and then get injured for a lot of games, and he plays a lot of games and then they get injured a lot of games. I'm gonna say he plays a lot of games this season.
I'm selling. Show me. It's time. It's time for Patrick Williams to show us. We've held his hand. We tried to make every excuse, talk about the attributes, the intangibles, and DeMar is in the way. Hey, enough is enough. Show me. I'm selling.
Is he gonna play the first game?
I mean, yeah, they say he's on pace to play the first game, but I look at it this way: it's hard to buy anybody playing all 82 games. That's just the way I personally look at it. It's just that's a bad investment because, like, it's the NBA. There's not a lot of people play all 82 games, so I'm glad that Patrick Williams, that's the goal for it. But you know, my mindset is if you can play over 70 games, it's basically a full season nowadays. Like.
For real.
Oh my!
That's what people shooting for. Really, the NBA say it's 65 games. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, that's
their benchmark to be considered for all the awards. 65 games. God. So the NBA says 65 games, and you're good to go.
That's hilarious, man. This is something that me and Kev actually talked about on the episode. Is that I was asked how many games does Adama Sanogo play in the actual NBA level? And I said, and I looked at it. He played, I think, was it 4 or 5 last season? I look at the injuries. I look at things like that with Vooch sitting down some. So I said, I think that Adama Sanogo is probably going to play 15 or 16 games at the NBA level easily next season. Question I'm going to have to you: buy or sell Adama Sanogo playing at least 16 NBA games next season for the Chicago Bulls?
I'm a buy for some personal selfish reasons. I think you guys can figure out what it is. Maybe we'll have a trade in the beginning of the season, and that will leave some rotation minutes for my guy, Adama Sanogo. I'm going to just leave it at that.
I'm buying it because the front office has told me that they are about this youth. They are about the player development and winning games. So show me. Show me that you ain't just sending guys down to the G League for no reason. We already seen a couple guys walk out of the organization, and we ain't seen much of them on the NBA floor. Cool. No argument, no foul. But for this situation, we're going to buy it.
Buy it.
Okay. All right. Cool. We'll see what happens with that one. Buy or sell. Ayo Dosunmu is in 6th Man of the Year consideration next year. Now, I'm not saying to actually win the award because I don't think the Bulls are going to win enough games to that. But when you look at the voting, and I'm going to pull that up as far as the 6th Man of the Year award, there's some people that we all knew weren't gonna win it, but they got some votes. Does Ayo Dosunmu get some votes for 6th Man of the Year next year?
I'm buying it. I'm buying extra stock. Ayo Dosunmu deserves it. He's probably the hardest worker on this team. I'm buying hard work. Ayo Dosunmu.
I'm absolutely buying. I was going to continue with C-Dub's pattern, what he talked about earlier. I got Apple Pay. I pay that right now. I will pay that right now. I'm buying it.
Yes.
I think we for me personally, I ain't talk enough about Ayo Dosunmu and his progression and just how steady he has been for the Chicago Bulls. Steady is how I like to describe him. So I got to show him a lot of love, and I'm gonna put some money on him.
Hey,
And I look at it this way: Bogdanovich last year for the Atlanta Hawks, which I believe finished with the worse record than the Chicago Bulls. Am I not mistaken? Am I mistaken on that?
It was It was definitely around
close,
each other.
Right,
we
were around each other. He finished 5th in Sixth Man of the Year voting last year. So that's why I say, like, it's not about. I'm not saying he's gonna win it. I'm not saying he's gonna finish top. Yeah, they had 36 wins last season.
Oh, yeah,
I think Ayo Dosunmu can get some 5th place votes next year for Sixth Man of the Year.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be higher.
Can you tell the people, nephew, if you can allow this drip? It's up for you. Can you tell them the progression of Ayo month to month really quick if you got that in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure
it was crazy.
Like I'm pretty sure
earlier.
Haize can concur with most of it. I think it was like in February it was 12
6
points, and then in March it went to 16, and then to finish off in April was 17 for the progression with Ayo. But obviously, as we mentioned before and earlier of the show, he was starting at that point, but the progression was still great.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it was a great season for Ayo Dosunmu. So I think very highly of Ayo. I think that we naturally talk about Kobe more because of the growth that Kobe had, but Ayo was right there as well. So
for sure.
Gotta talk about it. But we're gonna wrap up this show coming up next, talking about the Bulls waiving Josh Primo less than 6 hours after signing him. But before we get into that, I gotta talk to you guys about FanDuel. All right, y'all. FanDuel have been giving you guys great deals all offseason in the NBA, and you can start the season with the big return on FanDuel now, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I can't stress enough how amazing that is to be able to get all the information that you need to make an informed bet on the same page that you can actually place your bet. You don't got to go to Basketball Reference. You ain't got to go to ESPN to check the box score. You ain't got to go to Cleaning the Gas. You can get everything you need to make an informed bet right there on FanDuel. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Some of y'all betting your rent money. Don't do that. Bet $5 and you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed without dipping into your rent money. That's all you got to do is just $5. You got that, right? You ain't giving the $5 to the homeless person you pass on the highway every single day. You might as well put it in FanDuel and get you $200 in bonus bets back. That's FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com.
This dude.
Hey, listen, I can't be Petty Roosevelt on Locked On Bulls, but Petty Roosevelt can do an ad read is all I can say on that one.
Let him know for sure.
That's hilarious. But with that said, man, last topic of the day, quick one. So the Bulls signed Josh Primo yesterday, which led a lot of people to questioning, hey, what are we doing here? Why this? It could have went to somebody else. Oh, the case that he had. What about? And all these think pieces. And a few hours later, they waived Josh Primo. Now, he is still going to do his rehab down in the Windy City Bulls. It's basically what that signing allows him to do. Allows him to do his rehab down there with the Windy City. He's still probably going to play some Windy City Bulls games if he can get cleared. But how do you guys feel about the signing then waiving of Josh Primo?
First off, I'm to be perfectly honest, I'm like, what? What are we doing? Another guard? You're not going to be able to keep all of the players in the training camp roster. So there goes another chance for one of those players that don't make it out of the training camp to actually be a part of this franchise. I just don't get it. And if you're going to get a player, why wouldn't you get a big? And it looks like we're kind of low on bigs, like a center or something, and have him go to the Windy City Bulls. I just don't know about it. It speaks of incompetence to me. To be honest, I don't like it. Who do we know in the Chicago Bulls franchise? He got to know somebody.
No, he doesn't. I mean, listen, he's a 21-year-old player that was a former top 12 pick. Like, that's what you want to do for your G League team, is take opportunities at guys.
Okay. Yeah,
that's what it's for.
I understand that too, but for me, it was just one of those. I'm like, okay, simply because I'm just right now. I guess for me, I am so focused on the team, and then for the second part is more so. I'm like, man, another guard. Like, I feel like the investment. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, could he surpass a Dalen Terry or Julian Phillips, to get more minutes on the squad? The guys that's towards the end of the bench? Maybe. I don't know. Haven't seen much of him play, to be honest with you. But I think that a lot of the investment over the last few years has been so guard heavy or to these guard/forward type of players that the Chicago Bulls need to shift their investment to investing in a young center to carry on the future. Nikola Vucevic, look, the time here has been up and down, a lot of downs, but it's time to move on. Is Jalen Smith that? We don't know yet, but I would rather have more guys come in, slide in, take a couple more bites at the apple just to see if we can potentially find a big of the future.
But that's the thing. You're not going to find a big of the future through the G League. You're just not. And if you are, it's Adama Sanogo has the best. Like, I get what you're getting at there, but I think the G League isn't about trying to find a specific talent at a specific position. It's trying to uncover the best talent that you can possibly get and see if they can end up making your roster is really what it comes down. At least in my opinion, what it comes down.
You're absolutely right. But in this case, I would rather them have a big guy in there so he can have an impact on our team in the future. In your same exact.
None of these guys are having an impact on the team. I think that's what for me. It's okay. Nobody you would have signed at this point in the season is going to have an impact on the actual Chicago Bulls next season. I just don't. I don't see that.
I know what you said, but in the future, it's like a minor leagues to me. Like when you think about baseball, you get them down there, you play those games, and then when it's time for you to get called up, we see if you can come up here and help this team out or have some type of impact where you can have some rotational minutes. That don't mean you're going to be an all-star, or it don't mean you're going to be a sixth man or something like that, but you can help us at some point on the team. That's what I was saying.
I get, and that's what I understand what you're saying, but I think the Bulls at this point are more so using it as the development piece. Let's develop the best talent that we can find and that's willing to come here, and then we'll worry about the roster aspect of it later. Like they got trouble finding me. We don't know if Chris Duarte, Ernest Batum, any of those guys are getting minutes yet. I don't really see anybody that's coming through the G League getting those minutes quite yet. But I'll do. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I respect it from that aspect too, because I honestly didn't think about it from that way. Just saying like, hey, we grabbing the best talent that's out there, see if we can uncover something, and maybe. And I think it's a different way of looking at it because, to be honest with you, a lot of G League players don't make it back up to the NBA. They just spend a lot of the time bouncing around until injuries pile up or a team decides that they want to go into a rebuild. So I guess in your point, I believe it's kind of fair to say like they just giving themselves a greater chance of a player coming out than just saying, hey, we're going to go get a big or we're going to go look at a forward. So I get it to that aspect.
Now, the thing that I know a lot of people are going to ask about this, because it was asked when they signed him, this now means that the Chicago Bulls have a open contract spot, not roster spot, to potentially sign one Derrick Rose to a one-day contract at this point in time.
Oh, you got to do it.
Does that happen, or do we see another signing for the G League team eventually happen at this point?
They got to do it. Just do it. But they probably signed another guy to go to the G League just as the Bulls franchise.
I was going to say, man, just get an electronic signature. We in a digital age. Sign him and tell him to pick his day when he ready to come in and say what he got to say in front of the fans. Let him decide. But just, man, extend the offer. I think if you at least extend it, I believe that's the best that you can start with. They already started off great with saying, hey, we're going to have a Memorial night, remember them, celebrate them, things like that. If you ain't get your ticket by now, just watch it at home like the rest of us.
Oh, it's sold out. It's gone.
Oh yeah, I think they's probably sold out at this point too. Like, it is what it is. But listen, I can't wait till Derrick Rose is celebrated, man. Whatever way that it happens, I get it. We selfishly want to see the one-day contract to retire as a Bull, but like I said, I think before when we talked about this, he's always going to be viewed as a Bull. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't change the way that we look at Derrick Rose. He's a Bull.
That's facts.
He's always going to be a Bull.
Always.
So,
that's facts.
You already 100%. Know.
And that's just what it comes down to, man. That number, whether officially retired or not, can't nobody wear number one.
I already told him. Even if they don't retire the number, it don't matter. Can't nobody wear it.
You might as well, because ain't nobody. Listen. And by the way, have y'all seen the resale tickets that people are doing on that? So the suite tickets, keep in mind, the tickets for Derrick Rose's enshrinement or whatever we're calling celebration was already for the suite. They were selling at $2,000. People are reselling them now for $6,000. If you pay $6,000, bro,
Wow, triple.
that's crazy.
Triple.
That's crazy. Y'all better leave a super chat. I know that much. That's all I just
Oh my God.
That's a
Capitalism.
Fact. What they
That's
talking about.
hilarious. Any last thoughts, fellas, before we get up out of here?
Basketball is a coming, man. I am so excited, bro. Next week, Tuesday, first basketball game. It's
Bro,
a
I can't
preseason
wait.
game.
It doesn't matter. It's basketball.
Yeah.
Hey, once again, like I've been saying for the last week, ladies and gentlemen that enjoy this time of the year, talk to your significant others.
Tell them.
It's about to get ugly for them. But in the other place, appreciate you, Haize. Appreciate the Locked On Network.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. Y'all gonna follow Darkness and Shorty over there at the Sky Bulls podcast with the Kayak Boys.
I thought we was PG.
That's PG. Y'all can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow the show at Locked On Bulls. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every single day. Now, for your second listen, go check out Locked On NBA, where the Locked On experts are breaking down everything going on in the NBA all 7 days of the week, and soon to be. You know, I don't know if they've announced yet. I'm not gonna say nothing I shouldn't be saying. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Monday. Go Bulls. See you, Red, y'all. Peace.